You might want to buckle up because we have a huge update to cover in this video today. I would say this is probably one of the more significant updates that they've made to the game for a couple of reasons, and we're going to jump into that right now. Now, I know we are all tired of the ship combat, or at least I would say a majority of the players are tired of continuing to get ship combat modes rather than updates to some of the PvE content. But we are getting this new Metropolis Maneuvers game mode, and it does seem like this is going to be a ship combat mode, but I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. In past videos, I talked about some speculation that there was probably going to be a full-time Nightfall Siege mode. If you recall Nightfall Siege, which was kind of a disaster in my opinion from the Halloween or Death Metal Wonder Woman event. They talked a little bit about bringing that kind of full time to the game, or at least bringing back some limited events around it. This Metropolis Maneuvers game mode is going to be available on December 5th, so that's going to be tomorrow as of the filming of this video. I'll definitely be doing a full deep dive on Metropolis Maneuvers whenever that mode shows up, so expect to see something about that over the weekend bleeding into next week. But we got a little bit of flavor text here, basically that there are semi-sentient nanites that have infiltrated Metropolis, and we're basically having to deal with them. So the way the mode is going to work, from what we know, 2 leagues will enter into a battlefield, so it's going to be probably similar to Guardian Challenge, Great Krypton Rush, those types of things. For an asynchronous battle, you'll assign squads to garrison your stronghold, and then you'll be able to launch attacks on the enemy stronghold and capture their buildings. You'll take down as many vehicles as you can, so I would say this is definitely going to be ship combat, and earn points to claim victory. There are going to be some rewards associated with this. I would not get your hopes up that the rewards will be anything special, but at least something to compensate you for your time. So, get ready for this one. It's probably going to be Nightfall Siege, but it seems to me like it's going to be a little bit more involved. Like there's actually going to be kind of a game board and a little bit more strategy to what you're trying to do. So we'll be covering that in full detail in the coming days. The next thing to talk about is going to be the Scarab system, and this is what I was referring to when I said this could be one of the most substantial updates to the game that we've had so far. I don't want to create any sort of hyperbole around this or get anyone's hopes up that this is somehow going to save the game, but I do think we've needed a system like this for quite a while. Everyone knows that the transmute system is a whale food event or game element, and it's just quite unfortunate that you can't get to level 5 transmutes without spending an exorbitant amount of money. But this new Scarab system seems to allow you to make your squads more powerful over time without having to spend any money at all. Now, it is going to require a lot of patience for you to go through the Scarab system without wanting to whale and spend money, but you'll be able to earn drones and chips as you normally would. Once you get your base research up to 100%, you will be able to exclusively spend those items on the Scarab system, and you're also most likely going to be getting Supreme Commander points for that. So it's really nice. They're kind of, solving multiple problems at once, because everybody knows that the day that you have to use intel points for spending chips and alloy is quite difficult to do. But now that there's going to be a system that allows you to spend your drones and your chips, I think that a couple of days of Supreme Commander are actually going to be much easier for most players. It's really kind of a system now that in perpetuity, you'll always have something to spend on for those days, and you're not going to feel like you're just stuck having to take drastic measures, especially for spenders or for longtime players who have kind of finished all the base research. So I'm going to be spending a full video doing a deep dive on the Scarab system and talking through it, but just for purposes of this video, just to try to get you kind of up to speed on the basics of how it's going to work. Again, you're going to use chips to research what's called cord chips, and you'll equip those onto your ship squads to increase their power. You are going to be able to deconstruct your extra cord chips to obtain what's called Scarab circuits, and those are going to be exchangeable for beetle boosters. Now, I've been told it costs approximately 4,000 Scarab circuits to get one beetle booster, and that is going to be a significant amount of resources to get just one of them. And the recommendation from multiple whales that I've seen so far that have already done this morning is you really want to make sure you get to level 20 in the Scarab system before, which is the max, before you use those beetle boosters. The reason being, and we'll jump over there in just a second, but it will guarantee that you get a 4-slot cord chip from your next research. Again, I'm going to be doing more of a deep dive video to talk a little bit more about the Scarab system in a separate standalone video for this, but you can click on the information icon in the top of your screen and it'll take you to the details page, and we can sort through all of the different levels. You can see that it's going to go up over time, like your odds of getting sub-chip slots. And once you get to the 20th level, you have a base chance of getting 25% chance of getting 4 sub-chip slots. But if you use that beetle booster, you're going to get a guarantee of the highest level. So it's really important that you save those resources to use once you've completed most of the research, and that is going to take you a while as well. So kind of going to be banking on some of those things. It's very similar to the Enertrons for the transmute system. You're just not going to want to use those high level resources until you have something good to put it on. They've made some updates to the Dark Legion coordinated assaults. They added 4 higher level Dark Legions for challenging, and they also adjusted the mechanics here. So this is a not completely different system, but substantially different system from before. So the enemies used to be like, basically you would defeat them and that was the end of it. Now they're going to have stamina. So you'll be able to, basically if an enemy is not defeated during like your single coordinated assault that you launch, they're going to still show up. Their stamina is going to decrease, and then someone else will be able to challenge that boss with an additional squad. And they adjusted the coordinated assault rules because of this. So required power has now been changed to recommended power. Instead of gating people so that they can't launch the higher level coordinated assaults, anyone who is in the league will be able to launch a higher level coordinated assault, and then anyone can join that squad and attack it. So I think that's actually a positive change, especially for lower level players in lower level leagues, because you'll be able to work towards some higher level rewards by launching those higher coordinated assaults. Now, you will probably want to be careful if you're a lower level player not to launch one that you know you're just going to get wiped on constantly. Probably better to go for a mid-range coordinated assault and do it that way. But I do think this is another system that I'm really pleased to see the way they've adjusted it so that it feels a little bit more like a true PvE boss that you're fighting because of the stamina system. I wish they would make one more iteration on this, which is I'd like to be able to see the combat happen. At least if we're not going to be able to control our champions and our squads, I'd still like to be able to see the fights in real time and kind of see the interactions of using specific different team comps against these bosses so that we can maybe figure out what the optimal setups are to beat them for lower level players. I imagine at the highest levels, you're just going to be able to beat these things and clear all the stamina out with just one assault on them, but we're going to find that out. The next big update is an update to Combat Cycle Phase 2, and they've given some higher damage milestones. So I think 2 billion was around the end of the game where you couldn't go any further and it would just defeat the boss. You'd be able to get additional points in the match, but you wouldn't be able to really do too much otherwise, and you didn't get any rewards for it. They've added these new higher damage tiers, which also gives corresponding milestone rewards. So be on the lookout for that if you're a higher spender or if you have been able to min-max and get to that point. They did add some passive effects to all the combat cycle bosses, and they adjusted the boss mechanics. I think this is probably a welcome change. A lot of us who love combat cycle kind of getting bored of the meta because we pretty much know what to do for each boss. This is really cool and something that I definitely want to cover in future videos as well. You can see a pattern. There are a lot of things that I probably want to do standalone videos for, to just make sure that everyone is aware of the way the mechanics work now. I've done a bunch of combat cycle videos in the past and really kind of left it alone because there wasn't much else to say, but I think now we're going to have a reason to revisit all of those combat cycle videos and maybe do some new guides on the topic as well. So be on the lookout for that. Let me know in the comments below what you're looking for when it comes to that. But we'll talk about a couple of these things. So Murder Machine and Red Death, they're going to take increased area of effect damage, which they kind of already were bosses that you would want to do a lot of AoE on. I think that's positive. You're going to be able to score more points against those bosses if you have champions that can do AoE. We've got the Merciless, who's going to take increased physical damage. Now that one's interesting. You're probably going to get lower scores with some of your spiritual damage, AoE damage dealers like Constantine and the Joker, but you're also going to be able to do more damage against this boss, most likely with Supergirl. So kind of going to be some changes to team comps and that sort of thing. Killer Tank and the Drowned are going to take increased single target damage. I find that one to be interesting. It's going to make it difficult for some of your ranged AoE damage dealers to do as much damage against those bosses. Killer Tank, not as problematic there. A lot of single target damage dealers that you're already using on that boss. But for the Drowned, that one's going to be a little bit more difficult because you do need your damage dealers to be stationary for that fight. The Dawnbreaker is going to take increased spiritual damage, and its Summon Green Claw is also going to have higher max HP. That's going to be problematic. I think the Dawnbreaker is already one of the more annoying combat cycle bosses, and with the Claw having higher max HP, it's going to be much more difficult to take the Claw down, which means that most likely you're going to have champions die prematurely. So you're going to have to, make sure that you have either multiple avenues of healing your champions, or just basically have really heavily invested champions that can survive it. The Devastator is going to take increased damage from damage over time effects. I think that's going to mean that using your Scarecrow and particularly your Joker on this fight is going to make it much easier, and you're going to get higher scores there. I've been using Joker on Devastator for quite a while now and getting really good results from that, and this is just going to make it even better. I think the theme here is that they're making it like the best teams that you were already using against a lot of these bosses are going to be even better at them. And then unfortunately, it seems that the Drowned and the Dawnbreaker are going to be even harder, probably. Like, they are the true bottleneck for a lot of players for this phase. So more to come on Combat Cycle. Get ready for that. We've got updates to League Tech, so they've made some additional items, or added some additional items for the resources and combat branches of League Tech. There's going to be upgrades to the Brave Line carriage capacity, which I think is a very positive change. More people being able to ride in the carriages rather than the back compartment, so you're going to get more than just gems, and I think that's something that a lot of players have been asking for months, if not the entire year that the game has been out in soft launch at least. And so really good one there. We've also got price slash attempts. You're going to have higher price slash attempts, and there's some other items that are going to be included in that research. Once research is completed, the increased price slash attempt limit will take effect after the next refresh, so that's not going to be included if you have one of the price slash items open right now. They also replaced the League Fund related tech with new tech. So again, just a ton of additional items that you can research to make your league stronger and all your players stronger as well. So I think that's another positive, something that's going to keep people busy for a little while and give us something to do, or at least give the officers something to do. I know everyone loves, especially the officers, all the people bugging in general chat or in league chat that there needs to be more tech done. So positive update there. We've got improvements to Meta Brawl. This is going to apply after Meta Brawl ends on December 8th. So whenever the new season happens, they are removing the Challenger group, and players that are in the Challenger group are going to get moved to Veteran. They're trying to consolidate the tiers, and they're also going to increase the player capacity within those tiers to improve matchmaking and battle experience. So I think another positive change here, assuming that they don't make Grandmaster even harder to get into. They've kind of fluctuated up and down with how easy it is or hard it is to get into the Grandmaster tier, which is your top tier for earning Meta Brawl tokens and being able to get some of those Meta Brawl champions or Meta Brawl store champions purchased. So again, I think a positive change. Any sort of collapsing of tiers is going to mean that hopefully more people will be able to get to higher tiers and get the higher resources. We have a small improvement or change to Checkmate Crisis rankings. They've replaced the kill mechanic with power neutralized, and that's going to determine individual player rankings. They've also added a tag for kill streaks. So a couple of minor differences for Checkmate Crisis. I don't really think it changes the way the mode is going to be played, but if it does, definitely let me know in the comments below if I need to do a little bit of research there. They made some more changes to league trains. R4 members will now be able to assign passengers to the Brave Line reserved seats. So it's going to make it a little bit easier on the R5 to not have to be the only person doing that. And reserved seat assignments are now recorded in the league train logs. So you'll be able to see what happened there, like who got assigned to those reserved seats. And they keep using the word improvements. It's kind of annoying because sometimes it is an improvement and sometimes it isn't. So we're going to say changes to Guardian Challenge, Great Krypton Rush, and Battle for Gotham. They've adjusted the kill rules. And I think, at least reading this and not having been able to play it yet, this is going to be a bad change. I don't like it. It's going to make it even harder to obtain kills and obtain points in Gotham unless you are a heavy spender or a longtime player. But previously, all surviving players in the same vehicle would receive a kill when one of the squads in that vehicle defeated an enemy. Now, only the player whose squad defeats the enemy earns a kill. So even if you have a squad that's capable of getting the kill, if someone else in the squad is able to get that kill, you get nothing. So that's kind of annoying to me. I don't like it as a mechanic. I'm curious how that's going to play out in terms of player points and like who is going to be rising up and down the ranks in the future. It feels to me like a creation of more random variance in like who's the best. It doesn't really like tell you who is the most capable in a lot of ways because, you know, again, if the first person riding in that squad is the one who gets the kill and you're just kind of sitting there and that top squad is, you know, a really like highly invested account, then you may just not get any kills at all. And then you're kind of left wondering whether you should leave that squad and try to join another one or initiate your own so that you can get kills. Let me know in the comments if you have experienced this this system. Probably going to be a lot of people doing Battle for Gotham over the weekend and you know, some of the other events like Guardian Challenge. So curious to hear your thoughts on whether this was a good thing or a bad thing, and try to give me as much explanation as possible. DM me on Discord if you want to have a prolonged conversation about it. They did improve the building sequence logic, so there's going to be some interesting changes to the look and feel of the mode probably again. They also improved the locations of Gotham processing in Battle for Gotham. They're going to be closer to the central area. That is definitely a welcome change. It's annoying to have to navigate around the map to go find those if you're trying to do the Gotham processing portion of Battle for Gotham. So probably another positive change. Makes it a lot easier to discover those. We have some more general changes and improvements They've improved the display of champions' total damage in battle, and any UI improvements are welcome, in my opinion. There's a couple of other items here that are probably worth mentioning. In Realm of Fate, the Realm of Fates will now open when the first limited mythic champion hyper time tracker for that faction becomes available. So what that means is Superman is like your first bleed champion, right? So when his hyper time tracker opens up, you should have access to the Realm of Fates for both Justice League and for Superman family. Let me know in the comments if that's not the case. I'll definitely be doing a little bit of testing as well on maybe one of my alts, but that seems to be the case, is that Realm of Fates are going to open a lot sooner now. Previously, it would take quite a while for you to get access to those. Even if you had the champions for it, you wouldn't be able to play it until you reached a certain level. They say that they've improved Wonder Woman Death Metal's point bonus in Combat Cycle Phase 2. We'll be checking that over the next few days on the days that she gets the bonus and report back to you on that if there's anything crazy. But that is pretty much all for the kind of general improvements. They made adjustments to the pack bundles, and you'll notice it says adjustments, not improvements for this, so I think that's kind of funny. But this is definitely a negative for people who spend. Daily and weekly bundles will no longer include intel points, so some of your agency is being taken away, I think, in terms of being able to choose which thing to go for. But they are replacing that with weekly bundles that offer XP, alloy, and chips for purchase. So you'll be able to choose specifically the things that you want to buy. But again, when you have the intel points, you can just go in and, potentially if you're at the higher levels, probably get more of those resources than you would if you bought the packs. I do think this is definitely a kind of stealth increase to pack pricing for those who spend. We also have the Nature's Heirloom weekly bundle, no longer including XP, so you will be forced to buy those new XP packs that are showing up. They made a couple of other minor fixes. They fixed the quick portal for using custom mythic shard selectors for Donna Troy. You weren't able to quickly jump over and buy those shards from her evolve screen. You can now. Looks like they finally fixed the issue with legendary Red Hood shards still dropping after he was ascended to mythic. So that's taken care of. You'll be able to convert those extra shards that you have in your account at some point in the future into world line fragments. And then the grand finale for this update, and one that I think is going to be a bit of a nothing burger, is they adjusted Arsenal's kit. And really, this is like a full kit refresh for Arsenal. Now, a lot of you guys know that Arsenal ended up being a huge flop. The Outsiders really don't work as a three-person squad at all. Honestly, after reading this kit, it seems like they're trying to move away a little bit from the Outsiders even having any synergy at all, because Arsenal used to have some counterattack damage increase that he could do with his Deadly Mark, which would make Martian Manhunter a little bit stronger. I think this is technically a little bit of a nerf to Martian Manhunter if you're using him with an Outsiders team, which you're probably not. But this is also a bit of a buff to Teen Titans, because there's a little bit of Teen Titans synergy that's baked into Arsenal's kit. Now, I will be doing a full kit breakdown for Arsenal now that they've made this change. I think it would probably be worth doing a kit review for Arsenal, so be on the lookout for that probably within the next week, probably sometime next week, actually. But I just want to do a little bit of testing to see whether or not he's actually good or bad. Let me know in the comments below, again, if you've been able to do any testing already with Arsenal to see what he's capable of. We're on Killer Tank right now, and so we're not going to be able to get much testing done because I don't know it's the best place to try to test him. But maybe whenever we have Devastator tomorrow, or tonight at Reset, we'll be able to do a little bit more work. Just quickly going through these kit details. I don't want to spend too much time in this video since I'm doing a standalone kit review. But the prior version of Arsenal's ultimate was that he was going to shoot 9 arrows, and each of those would deal a very small amount of physical damage based on a percentage of his attack. And then they would also, each one would inflict a stack of deadly mark. So theoretically, if you were going against a single target, you would hit 9 arrow shots on that same single target, and then you would inflict 9 stacks of deadly mark. Now, deadly mark would increase counterattack damage taken by a percentage. And if you had his ultimate all the way maxed out, it would be 6% counterattack damage per arrow. So it would be a fairly significant amount. Like, it stacks up to 10 times. So again, if you're on a single target boss, you would get 9 stacks immediately with the first ultimate, and then the second ultimate would max it out. It would last for 20 seconds. You could kind of perpetually keep 9 stacks of deadly mark on a single target for an entire battle, and it would be up to 60% counterattack damage. So you can see how the scaling would make Martian Manhunter just go off on a boss like Devastator where it's single target. The updated version of this, Arsenal will shoot 9 arrows into the sky, and each one will deal physical damage, a significant amount more physical damage to the target, and it goes at random. So again, if you're on a single target boss, you're going to do a lot more damage to the target, but you're also not going to inflict the deadly mark with your ultimate. So Arsenal's first skill has been changed as well. Previous version, he would fire 1 arrow at 1 target and deal physical damage based on a percentage of his attack and inflict 2 stacks of deadly mark. They've changed deadly mark to where it's just a single buff, like you won't inflict multiple stacks of it. And the new version of this skill, he's going to do a little bit less damage with the arrow that he fires, but he will inflict 1 stack, or I guess he will inflict the deadly mark debuff on the target for 8 seconds, and that deadly mark is now going to increase physical damage taken by a percentage, and that's, I think maybe potentially helpful, especially because in manual mode you could get that debuff on all the targets in the that you're going up against, but it's fairly similar in nature to the way Captain Cold's kit works, where he has single target reduction or increase in physical damage taken. I don't see this moving the needle. I think there's not enough damage or there's not enough of an increase percentage on the deadly mark for it to matter. If it's stacked, it would be one thing, but without it stacking, I just don't think that it's going to be enough of a difference. Again, we're going to do some testing, and we'll come back and report the results. So then we have Retribution. The previous version of this, he would deploy a turret that would last for 20 seconds. And anytime that an enemy would deal damage with their ultimate or a special skill, the turret would counterattack. It would shoot an arrow at the target, and the counterattacks could only trigger every 4 seconds. So basically, each time the turret was deployed, you would have up to 5 counterattacks that you could potentially do. The updated version, he's going to deploy a turret still, and it will attack the nearest enemy every 3 seconds. So it's not dependent on an ultimate or a special skill being used, which I think was very problematic with the way that turret worked. Now it's just going to fire chip damage at the nearest target for like every 3 seconds. It's going to fire off. It will prioritize targets that have deadly mark. So theoretically, if your target that has deadly mark is in the back line somewhere, the turret will still attack them, and it's going to deal a significant amount less physical damage. It seems like probably about half of what it dealt before. And then the turret is still untargetable, and it will last for 15 seconds. So it's still going to deal 5 sets of damage, but it's guaranteed. It's not going to be, waiting on an ultimate to get used or a special skill. It's just going to fire off 5 times. So pretty decent amount of chip damage there. I'm curious, how that works. And, in particular, if you have a target that has deadly mark, and then you're doing the turret damage and you're doing your ultimate on them as well, theoretically, this kit could end up being good, but I think there's a lot of a lot at play that we still need to figure out. The last thing is Acrobat attack. They changed it a little bit. Previously, it would increase Arsenal's attack by 5, 10, 15, 20, or 25%. And at the start of the battle, each outsider's ally that was present would increase Arsenal's energy gain by 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6%. The way they updated this, they added some Teen Titans synergy here. So it's still going to increase attack by the same percentages, but now each Outsiders or Teen Titans ally present will increase Arsenal's energy gain by 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6%, and it will stack up to 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30%. It makes a lot of sense. So I do think this does present some interesting combinations for Arsenal, and again, we'll talk about this a little bit whenever we try to do some testing and make a standalone video for it. But you could potentially have an Outsiders tag synergy with Martian Manhunter as kind of one of your tanks or frontline champions. You got Starfire as a healer. You have Arsenal as a backline damage dealer. And then you could throw in a couple of additional support champions like Donna Troy up front, and then also Cyborg to provide some additional physical damage increase on your targets. And that might actually be a viable comp. We don't know yet. We're going to try to figure that out. But I do think that, you know, there's a lot of potential for Arsenal to be better than he was originally billed. And, you know, I mean, I'll be happy with that. You can see that I have significant amount of investment in Arsenal. I haven't been buying his shards. I did buy him to like 5 blue, I think, initially, but I've had some pack luck with pulling him in the bleed and mother box cubes. I did invest a decent amount in his force initially. You know, now this pales in comparison to a lot of my other champions, but that was a lot of wasted force initially. I'm really hoping that with the changes, this will actually have been worth it. That is going to wrap this video up. Again, another long update video. I've tried to save this from being an hour-long update video by trying to pull some of these concepts out into their own videos. We're going to talk about Metropolis maneuvers in a separate video. We'll talk about the cord chips and Scarab system in a separate video. We're going to do a deep dive testing on Arsenal's kit in a separate video. And we've got a couple of other things that are going to be coming down the pipe as well. So looking forward to sharing that content with you. Again, let me know in the comments below what you think about this update. I have a suspicion that there are going to be relatively few updates of this caliber within the next couple of months due to holidays across the globe. In the U.S., we've got holidays through the end of December, and then there are several holidays that are celebrated outside of the U.S. across the globe that bleed into the end of February, beginning of March. So it's probably going to be difficult for the devs to do that much work, or at least maybe it wouldn't be difficult, but they're definitely not going to do as much work on the game as we would typically see in what we saw over the summer and the fall. Regardless of what's going on over the next few months, I'll definitely be here to cover it. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you're subscribed. You'll get updates anytime I put out new content for DC Dark Legion, and I hope to see you in the next video.